Hey Streetwalkers, you remember back in February when I had Seattle rapper Sam LaChow on the show and I talked about how much I love his music? Well, Sam is putting a new album together and I need your help. Sam doesn't know I'm doing this, so let's hope he doesn't sue me.
Go, Huckleberry's house, bounce. Everybody get the fuck out. My flow's back and know it's been a little while, but it's still set with Amy the Chow. I got 2 pairs of pantaloons and a flannel too. Man, I used to dabble and dab the banana goo. Grew up in Seattle, I've been in and out the zoo, but the left-handed bandit is back.
I'm going to read directly from his Kickstarter campaign, in which you can help for as little as $1. Check it out at kickstarter.com/projects/Sam LaChow. From Sam. The left-handed bandit's back, and I'm going back to my roots, doing everything fully independent and DIY style. From merch to album art, making beats, we doing it all. It's so important to me to have creative freedom, but with that comes risks, challenges, and big costs.
I walk it out like, gone, run, Birdman money, 3 minutes, y'all finish, y'all done. Leave the dinner table till the dinner's all done. To the bottom of 9th inning to hit a home run. Woo!
I do this for you guys, my fans. I don't have a huge fan base, but the fans I do have been rocking with me for hella. And I'm making this album for you. I want you, my fans, to be part of this project.
Is it performative? Of course it is. I'm over you, I'm over that, I'm over this. Got a warrant, haven't been to Florida since. So now I get my oranges imported in.
This is my favorite project I've made to date, and I'm asking you all for help to get this album out there. I want to give this one to the ones who appreciate the art. I want to package it up nice and not just throw a track up on Spotify. I want to give you something real. A signed, physical collector's item. Blood, sweat, Devin the dog's hair, and all. Much love, Sammy Huckleberry LaChow.
I could sell a clone of myself to myself, so I could really just be knowing myself. Give him a hug and get a hold of myself, and then return him when I'm over myself.
You guys are the reason that I'm somehow able to still do this. And there's been a lot of times where I almost stopped doing this. And because of y'all, like, the support, I can't thank you guys enough. I feel very lucky that I get to keep doing it.
Now it's me again, Streetwalkers. Let's get this album made. Streetwalkers unite and go to kickstarter.com/projects/Sam LaChow.
White knuckle, dry drunk. SSRIs to keep me blind and mind numbed. I was sober for 9 months and couldn't cry once.
Kickstarter.com/projects/Sam LaChow.
I know one day my music will be happy again.
Kickstarter.com/projects/Sam LaChow.
AV in your ears, that's Ambush Van giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world with my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know, let's get it when you whip in the Fascination Street. What do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with the queen of Roadhouse Rock herself, Eve Selis. In this episode, we get to know Eve. We talk about how she came to be in the San Diego Music Hall of Fame. What? There's even an Eve Selis Day in San Diego. We talk a little bit about some of her previous projects, including Cactus Honey and 3 of Hearts. We also talk about tragedy. There are some events that have happened in the last few years in her life that have given her a little bit of an introspective and, dare I say, new and interesting outlook on life and life's purpose. Some of these tragedies inspired her to write her 10th solo and newest album called Dark Sky Blue, which came out April 12th. And she lets me play my favorite track on the album. It is called Monster. Make sure you check out Eve Selis at eveselis.com or all over the social media places and things. She tours all the time, so check her website for upcoming tour dates. And this is my conversation with one of Nashville's shiniest stars, Eve Selis.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Eve Selis. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
It is 100% my pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Eve Selis. Oh my gosh. We're going to get to all the things that she is, including, if my research is correct, she has her own day in San Diego. We'll talk about all that stuff. But first, what I like to do, Eve, is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
I was born in Deming, New Mexico. Teeny tiny town. If you're in Tucson, Arizona, and you just keep going towards New Mexico, you will drive right into Deming. I mean, it's a very, very small town.
What highway would that be?
Probably 8, right? Doesn't 8 just keep going?
I don't know. I'm by 10, and 10 goes through like Las Cruces and stuff, but it doesn't go through wherever you made up.
8 east from San Diego goes all the way through Arizona. So I'm assuming it keeps going into New Mexico.
Well, that would make sense.
But we weren't there long. My dad had to serve in the Korean War.
I love MASH.
Exactly. He was going to dental school at the time. And so he actually got sent to San Diego, California for 2 years in the Navy. And he got to practice dentistry on, I think they're called grunts. No.
So my wife was in the Navy. Was your dad on a hospital ship? Was he on like the Mercy?
So he was actually at the naval base that was in Point Loma.
Oh, okay.
And just stayed there. He said later that it was the best 2-year paid vacation he ever had. I mean, I was just a baby. He had so much fun.
My wife was in the Navy, and she was on the USNS Comfort because she was a nurse. So in San Diego is the Mercy, and then I think out of the East Coast is the Comfort. I think that's how it works. I don't know. I wasn't in the Navy.
Please thank her for her service. That's amazing.
And likewise, is your dad still around?
He's not, unfortunately.
Thanks for your service, buddy.
Hi, baby. Heads up to heaven.
Okay, so then what happened? You got all mad because your dad had a vacation, and then the whole family left San Diego?
We had to go back to St. Louis where he finished school. And then my mom's like, oh, you're taking the California test. My mom was born and raised in Arizona and New Mexico. So she likes that dry heat. And there wasn't a lot of dry heat in St. Louis.
Do you remember St. Louis from those days? No?
I was too little. My sister after me was only 14 months apart. She was born in San Diego. She was a Navy brat. That's what they call them. Whatever. She was born at the Navy hospital. And then 13 months after her, my other sister was born in St. Louis. So yeah, I come from a very large family. And anyway, my mom was like, you're taking the test. And my dad did. And he passed. And he came back I grew up in San Diego. So it was a very idyllic place to grow up in. Perfect weather. And everything's like right there, the beach and the sunshine, tons to do. And then it's just literally like an hour drive to the mountains or the desert. It's a good place to be from. I've been living in Nashville now since the pandemic, 4 years, but I remember on many trips flying back into San Diego thinking, gosh, I am so lucky to live here. Wowza. It's beautiful.
Okay, so if you were so lucky to live in San Diego, why'd you move to Nashville?
That is a really good question. First of all, my husband got work.
Oh, finally, this dude. Get a job, bro.
I know. It's about time. Well, he had been laid off in 2019, and we had been talking about moving, and then he got laid off, and we're like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's a sign. Let's start looking for work here. And then the pandemic hit. So he found this job, and he actually has a ton of friends here in the music business.
What does he do?
He does music editing.
Oh, cool. He does audio editing. I'm going to send him this and tell him to edit it for me when we're done here.
He'll do it with a few overdubs. My husband also was diagnosed in 2016 with brain cancer.
What kind?
He's got an astrocytoma, which he's lucky because that is a very slow growing tumor.
Yeah, when people hear the word cancer, they automatically think, oh, lucky.
Exactly.
And when they hear that it's brain cancer, they go, oh my God, extra, extra lucky. Bonus luck.
Yeah. He just had his MRI and all we want to hear is stable, no change. And that's what we heard. He had 2 surgeries, chemo, radiation, stable, no change. They gave him 5 to 8 years and we're going on, this is 9 years. Wait, 2016 math, 8 years. And he's got no issues. So it's time for them to come up with a cure. That's what I'm praying for. And so, and he asked me to move. I'm like, what am I going to say? No.
Did he use the cancer card? He's like, baby, I have cancer. Can we just move? No. Like that. Everything is like, baby, can you get me a glass of water? I have cancer.
I know. No, he's actually pretty stable in that whole department because he was driving his car and he was 20 seconds from getting on the freeway when he had a seizure. And that's how we found out he had brain cancer.
Was he by himself?
Yeah. Well, he went to go pick up a van, and then he was going to go pick up a couch in that van for a friend of ours that we were helping get into a new apartment. She had cerebral palsy and all that stuff. So he was helping her, and he got lost on the way there. And he thought that was really weird. He couldn't remember how to get there. And then he started driving down the hill and just doesn't remember anything. And thank God, because it was just like down the hill, turn left, and there you get on the freeway. And he hit the pole. And that's when we found out.
He was okay from the accident, though?
Yeah. Well, he got pretty banged up on his head, but nothing, nothing as bad as what was happening on the inside, right?
So is that how it manifested? Like he kind of forgot things and then had a seizure?
So this happened on a Monday. So he told me on Sunday because he went out to visit.
He waited a week to tell you?
Oh, no, silly. Saturday, he went to a party to hang out with some friends he hadn't seen in a long time. And he told me the weirdest thing happened tonight. Like I was trying to say something and it went, I'm like, well, that was weird. And then I found the words.
So he knew in the moment that had happened?
No, he had no idea.
No, I mean that he knew that he said.
Yeah. Yeah. And he goes, that was weird. Then we spent the next day with kids and we play Trivial Pursuit with our kids, our adult kids. And oh my gosh, these are like 5 and 6 hour sessions. Very competitive.
Good for you, because we play Cards Against Humanity, and that is not a game you should play with your children. Or your parents.
I've never played that game. But anyway, we played till like 1 a.m. and then he got up to go get this couch. And that's when it happened. So we didn't know any of this was going, I was sound asleep and my phone was on silent. But anyway, then I got that horrific phone call you don't want to get, that nobody knew what was going on.
You just got a call that he'd been in an accident.
And that they took him to Mercy Hospital. And so I'm in, so now, you're on like hyper mode. And I got there and when I got there, his 2 kids were there. He had this huge bump on his head and he was talking, but still kind of a little out of it and whatnot. And then they said they needed to take him in for another MRI. And that was when I was kind of like going, And then that's when they came back and told us he has cancer. So it was a huge mass, but it had been there. They said it had probably been there for 10 years. So anyway, we had surgery, got rid of it. And it has not affected him cognitively. It's by his motor skills. So they had to be very careful. So they weren't able to take all of it out. Because if you nick that little area where your motor skill nerves are, you're paralyzed on the opposite side of the body. So we were very lucky to be in San Diego at UCSD. Had a great doctor. All of it's good. And then it was just like, what are we going to do? What do you want to do? And he was there for me in San Diego. That's where I grew up. That's where my family was. That's where my career was. That's where everything was. But it's like, well, moving to Nashville might not hurt my career.
Is that where he's from?
He was born in New York, but grew up in Florida. And then moved to Texas and then moved to California.
Where in Texas?
Dallas. I think he went to college there, but I can't remember the name of it.
He went to a British college?
Yes, he went to a British college.
No, you went to a British college. I'm in San Antonio, so I was just curious.
Well, I've been to San Antonio because my stepson joined the Air Force, and that's where he did his basic training.
That's where everybody used to do it, was here. I don't know if they still do, but everybody used to do it here. Well, what's your husband's name, since we've talked for 47 minutes about your husband?
I know. And that's all the time we have today. Tom, we did a great interview on you. His name's Tom Gulata.
Tom what?
Gulata.
Gulata?
You got a lotta when you got a Gulata.
That sounds like a mobster name. Just change his first name to like Tony Gulata, or something like that.
He is definitely Italian, let me tell you. Tony Bag of Donuts.
There you go. All right. Well, like you said, that's all of our time today, Eve. So thank you for waking up so early.
Are you in Las Cruces right now?
I'm in San Antonio.
You're in San Antonio. Okay, so I was going to say, wait, this is really early for you.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to live in Las Cruces. It's just a drive through. That's just where they have the I-10. So
gotcha.
It's a nice stopping point between like San Antonio and Los Angeles. What was the plan? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I knew I was going to be a singer.
Really? From what age?
Yeah, I'm going to say like 8 or 9. My uncle built guitars. Gave my sister Lee a guitar and she learned the obligatory 3 chords. And we used to do concerts for my parents and my grandparents singing all those favorites like, if you hear the whistle blow, you will know, you will hear the whistle blow 100 miles, 100 miles. Anyway, so we would do that. And then, you're going up to 500 miles. It's a long concert.
Oh, so it's like the bottles of beer on the wall. It's just miles.
Yes. This was the 70s, you know.
And this was like a country song? I'm unfamiliar with the song
It's like
entirely.
a folk song. It's folk.
Okay, cool.
It's the F word of music, folk.
Okay.
Anyway, we did these concerts and my grandmother leaned over to my father and I heard her say, Eve's got a really good voice.
Did your other sister hear that?
I don't think they did. They didn't have the eagle ears I had.
Oh, snap.
And when you're 8 or 9 years old, you just like, oh, I could do something awesome. So I believed it. So I said, okay, I guess I'm going to be a singer. I can do something. I can do this. That stayed with me my whole life because I've always really tried to encourage people in the arts, no matter what it is, drawing, and tell them, you know, with no stress or pressure that, you know, the future of our planet, we're only going to survive through the arts. So it's all on their shoulders.
No pressure.
No pressure. But I just remember how impactful that was in my own life of having somebody tell me I could do something and encourage me in it. Because I think that's around the age, like you don't know you can't do anything until someone says, oh, no, you can't do that.
You know what? I've always thought that when I was a little kid, I don't know, like kindergarten or first grade or something like that. You know, those dumb posters that's like a kitty cat stuck on a tree or whatever. It's like, hang in there or whatever.
Right.
Well, this was sort of a dumb poster like that, except it was like a picture of like a dog flying or something. And it said, you don't know what you can do until someone tells you you can't or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, what a great sentiment. You know, of course, I was a little kid. I was like, oh, that means I can fly. Nobody's told me that I can't fly, so I can fly. I didn't. No, because I was scared of heights. I would have dreams that I was flying and I would wake up just in a panic because I was afraid of heights.
My son is afraid of heights too. It's the worst feeling. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so you're in San Diego for all of the years.
Yes.
And then, do I have this correct? You are in the San Diego Music Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, she is throwing up both guns.
Go.
Like she's winning the Mrs. Universe competition. So you are in the San Diego Hall of Fame?
I sure am. I could probably grab the little thing.
Oh, snap. Go get it.
It might be right here. I'm an inductee. And look at the year. Mm-hmm.
Oh, get run out of town. Ladies and gentlemen, it says 2019. So as soon as you got that plaque, you were like, all right, cool. We're packing and leaving.
Exactly. See ya. Well, you know, it's really funny. There's a feeling you get when someone's like, we're putting you in the Hall of Fame. And you're thinking, wait,
I'm not done yet.
it was just such an interesting feeling. And I think as musicians, we want confirmation that you
recognition. No, confirmation.
I think every human being wants to be seen. I think we all want to be seen. That's just our nature. We want to, I have an opinion on I matter. We want to know that we matter. And I think that we're enough. And I think artistic people have some childhood wounding around that. And so they they work it through their art.
You said artistic people have childhood wounding. Do you think art comes from trauma?
That was a nice segue, actually. I would actually say yes to that, only through my own understanding and experience. Yeah. I didn't realize it until my dad said something to me, and I was probably in my 30s at the time, late 20s. And he's like, you're so lucky that you get to express yourself through music. I had never thought of it as expression. I was like, I'm just singing, I'm dancing on stage, and I'm getting people into the music, and we're having fun. It's a party, right? Because that was the 80s. So you can imagine the music.
I'm just imagining the shoulder pads.
Yes. Oh, and dude, the hair. Oh my God.
Oh, the hair.
So once I kind of got onto that understanding of that, then I decided, okay, what do I want to say? What matters to me? What do I care about?
So you were singing, but this is when you decided to start writing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I teach voice now as well, because in 2009, the market crashed and nobody was hiring bands. I just was like, well, it's either Starbucks or I'm going to start teaching voice. And one of the things I know about singing is the way you find your voice is by copying other people. And I think, you start surrounding yourself with like-minded musicians. You might not think the same. It might not all be the same, religion or politics or sexuality or all that stuff. Who cares? But somehow musically, you've got this thing that you guys all understand. And then you start creating from that space, and everybody's bringing something to the table, and you learn how to do it. And I think for me in my entire life, it's always been, well, if I can't I'm not going to do that. Like, I can't get the basket in the hoop. I'm not playing basketball. Like, no.
So you're saying you got a lot of quit in you.
Yeah. Well, I ran track. So there's that. But I just started surrounding myself with basically people who were better at it than me as far as writing was concerned. And that is a great way to get better at anything you want to do in life is work with somebody who's better than you, because that's how you learn. And you only learn by mistakes, really, all of us. None of us learn by getting it right the first time, and then we try to keep repeating whatever that was. It's always the falling down, like, oh, that hurt my knees. Okay, let's try not to do that again this time, and figure out how to keep walking.
I heard a study about some children. I think they were in like third grade or something, and they took two sets of kids and they gave them like a third grade math test, and everybody did fine. But they took one group and they said, "Oh my gosh, you guys are really, really smart. Good job." And then they took this other group and they said, "Oh my gosh, you guys really, really worked hard at this. Good job." Then they gave them like a fifth grade math test. They didn't know fifth grade math, so they were struggling. And the group of kids that they told, "Wow, you're really, really smart," they gave up real fast. And then the group that they told them they worked really, really hard, they kept trying and just kept working at it. I just heard that study yesterday. It's probably a few years old, but I just heard it yesterday. So how convenient.
I think that's perfect. I saw a meme with this little kid. He had his book open and he was taking his hands and he was like grabbing in the air like water. It looked like water, and pouring it into his head. And then he turned the page of the book and he would grab everything and pour it into his head and change the book. I'm like, that's the best way to learn I've ever seen.
That kid needs therapy.
Wouldn't it be great if it was just that easy?
That sounds like some Matrix. I know Kung Fu.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
Okay, so when is Eve Selis Day?
I believe it's May 31st.
How do you not know?
Well,
if I had a day, it would be tattooed on my forehead.
Well, I should have that tattoo. The way they do it in San Diego is like, this is your day, and they give you a plaque, and it's signed by the mayor, and all the things. And I'm like, wait, is this in perpetuity? And they're like, oh, no.
No, that's not how I would tell the story.
That's extra.
I would tell everybody all the time, hey, it's my day. What's up? Get out of the way. It's my day.
My day.
Did they give you a giant key that opens nothing?
No, they didn't.
I would make myself a key and carry it around everywhere on that day. Cut in front of people at Starbucks. Hey, you see this key? Eve Selis Day.
Exactly.
Move it.
I mean, that's been a very great thing to brag on. But really, the thing that I like to tell people the most is that I am the only singer on the planet, especially in America, who had an American bald eagle land on their head whilst singing the national anthem.
We're going to let that sit there for a minute.
Just look it up on YouTube. Eagle lands on singer's head.
Where were you?
I was at the Phoenix Suns Sports Arena singing for a corporate gig with Amway.
Wait, the Phoenix Suns, they play indoors.
Yes, this was indoors.
Why was there an eagle inside of the...
That is such a good point. Nobody's ever asked that question.
Why has nobody asked that question? That's the only question.
Apparently this bird, his name is Challenger. Really good name for...
Oh, that's terrible. That's a terrible name.
He was sanctioned by the United States government to fly free in public.
Eating indoors?
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, you're free. I mean, we're not going to let you outside, but you're free.
So he was trained to find his trainer, right? And 2 weeks before, they said, hey, do you have any issues working with birds? I'm like, no, I don't think so. So 2 weeks, my band was like, he's going to poop on you. You know that. He's going to land on your head. They teased me for 2 weeks, right? So we practiced 4 times. And on the 4th pass, the eagle swooped in front of me. And I went, you duck out of the way. It's pretty magnificent to see an eagle up close, that close.
It's a big bird.
It's a big bird. And he swooped in front of me. And the trainer goes, oh, don't do that. Don't put your arms up. Don't do that. He could swipe at you. I'm like, great. So here's what, they didn't talk about is that eagles soar on thermals. So there's 12,000 people there. So they let him go on the top floor and he starts circling the stage. He can't get down because of all the heat. And so like an idiot, I'm like, look, everybody, here comes the bird. I'm like, land of the free. And I'm holding the note. He's not coming down. I'm like, and I finally put my hand up and he swooped around and he landed right on my head and then jumped off. And so, of course, I went, ta-da, and then walked off and had to get a tetanus shot.
Why did it cut you with its giant talons?
It scratched my scalp, just like fingernail scratches. Sure. And it hurt because it came from behind, it's like 6-pound bird.
And also because it's your head.
Yeah, there's that. And then, and I have pictures and video. Then the guy's like, oh yeah, it's a good thing you didn't put your hands up because like you could have taken your ear off or swiped at your throat. I'm like, maybe this bird shouldn't be flying free.
And also, maybe this is something you should have told me 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
And then I would have said, no, I'm not working with birds.
Yes, that happened.
Wow, that's wild.
I will say this. I tried to start sharing the video this happened in 2000. And I was served with a cease and desist letter from the bird. It said it would ruin his career.
You're messing with me, right?
I'm not. I have it. And I was like, what about my career?
What about my head, yo? Did you frame that letter?
I have it in storage.
That's got to be the coolest cease and desist letter I've ever heard of.
Totally. Completely.
That's better than having a key that doesn't open anything. Oh, man, that is so cool. You are known in some circles as the Queen of Roadhouse Rock. I know that they just remade Roadhouse, but I haven't seen it yet. So what is Roadhouse Rock?
Well, it's a name I came up with for the genre that I've done most of my adult life, in that I never fit into any category. I wasn't pop, I wasn't country, I wasn't rock, I wasn't blues. So thank God the Americana came along for people like me who just didn't fit into one thing. I was always a rocker. And then I was told, you're too old to be a rocker, but you can be 1,000 years old and sing country.
Wait a minute. Rob Halford just sang a song with Dolly Parton. Rob Halford from Judas Priest. He's 156 years old, and
Exactly.
Dolly's not far behind him. What? You're never too old to rock.
You're never too, I was listening to the wrong people and not knowing what my purpose was, not knowing who I was, and just trying to throw the spaghetti on the wall and make it stick. I don't really love classic country music. I actually do love, I like Hank Williams and Johnny Cash, and I like the Rebels.
Hank Williams Sr.?
Yeah, senior. You'll never get out of this world alive, dude.
That's what I hear.
But I liked Steve Earle, and I liked Emily Harris, and I liked people that were kind of fringy.
Steve Earle.
Yeah, Steve Earle, he's amazing.
He's on tour right now.
Yeah, he's such a good songwriter.
This is so off topic. He played a AA sponsor in the widely acclaimed television show The Wire.
Nice. Well, he was incarcerated for a little while.
What? That's how you become a legendary musician.
He might have had a drug problem.
What?
Anyway, great songwriter. I kind of discovered a part of country music that I really, really loved. And I love Jason Isbell, just that kind of, it's like alt country. So it's got a twang to it, but it more sits in the rock part of country. And so that I just had to have a name for it. And a lot of people in California, they don't, well, at least in the places I was with, they didn't love country. But when I said Roadhouse Rock, they're like, ooh, I like that. It kind of reframed what I was saying and playing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about a few things, and you can say as little or as much about them as you would like. Deal?
Okay.
Tell me about Cactus Honey.
Oh, Kim McLean, who is a co-writer on my new record, but she co-wrote 8 of the 10 tracks with me.
Not related to Dawn at all, right?
No, not,
Okay.
but just as great of a songwriter. I was in Nashville when 9/11 happened. So I met her the day after 9/11 because I actually had a gig that was set up through ASCAP. And I was so scared. I didn't want to go, but we decided to go. And there's 5 people there, and 4 of them were the musicians, And she started playing songs that I had been pitched the day before 9/11. I had gone around to all these publishers and they pitched me all these songs. And I'm telling them Roadhouse Rock. And so they're trying to pitch me all their rockingest country stuff, right? Because I was told you can't sing your own songs on your first country record. I'm like, all right. Anyway, I did this gig and she was starting to play songs. I'm like, wow, where have I heard that song before? Heard that song. It's so weird. So when I finally got back, it took me a week to get home because there were no flights because of 9/11. And I got back home, I narrowed 150 songs down to 10 that I felt like I could have written these songs. These songs mean something to me. And I feel like I could have written up 3 of them, ended up being her songs. So I reached out to her and she ended up producing my first 3 records. I had a band, Kings Road, before that. And we did 2 albums. And then we did a 3rd one where we added a couple of new songs, but then added a couple from the other 2 together. But anyway, this was my first one as Eve Selis. So we've been friends for, 23 years now. She would come to San Diego and do gigs with me. And then I would go to Nashville and do gigs with her. And we even went into England and did some gigs together. And then people were like, when are you guys going to do a record? And so we thought, let's do an EP. Let's do a 4-song EP. This will be fun. We wrote songs for it. And then it was coming out so good. We're like, oh no, we need to do a whole record. So we did 10-song record and it was really great. But then I kind of had a crisis of identity at that time of like, wait, what do I want to do? Do I want to be Cactus Honey? Do I want to be Eve Selis? Who am I? What do I want? Thus started the journey of trying to discover who I was as a human being. And why was I still doing music? Like, did it matter? Is anybody listening? Does anybody care? All those questions that you ask that keep you stuck in your head instead of dropping into your heart and saying, I'm just going to share what I love and what I know. And so that project, I love it. But we ended up just doing that one thing and never did anything more from it.
Okay. Well, then tell me about Three of Hearts.
Okay. So Three of Hearts is Kim McLean, who I just talked about, moi, and our dear friend, Randy Driscoll. She is another dear friend of ours. And we just started singing together when things started opening up and pandemic, things were we were finally able to get out and sing again. And she has around every other Monday at the Cambria Hotel downtown in Nashville. And we started doing that round with her. We would do it like maybe every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks. And we just clicked. We just like, oh my gosh. And because we're all really good friends, especially Kim and I, because we've written so many songs together, we just started doing all these great harmonies just naturally on each other's stuff. And all of our songs are really heart-centric. We do rounds together, and a round in Nashville is where one person sings a song and then the next person sings a song and then the next person sings a song and then it goes around to the 1, 2, 3, and you do it for an hour. That's just another way to get to sing music. That was very cathartic and healing for me because I had moved here during the pandemic, don't hardly know anyone, can't really hang out with people, all of it. And so when it opened up, it was like kids in the candy store. I was like, oh, I'll sing. It was so interesting before the pandemic because, I've been doing this for a long time. It was all the questions you ask about a gig. Where's the gig? How much does it pay? How long do I have to sing? All the questions you ask for a gig. And then you decide yes or no. Now it's like, where's the gig? It's an hour and a half drive. It doesn't pay anything. I pay you. I'll be there. Because the pandemic, I think it made every one of us, singer, songwriter, whatever, people and musicians just really appreciate what they do and really appreciate the audience. And understanding that what you do is not for you, even though it's for you first. It's for the audience. Sure. Everything a musician does is for the audience. And once you focus all your attention there, it takes so much pressure off of your own shoulders of being whatever it is that your mind is in, what quandary it is in that week, and allows you to just give from heart space. I really care about that. I really do.
Love it. We're going to talk about your new album. This is your 10th album. Is that correct?
Well, it depends on how you're counting. If you count my first records from Kings Road, this would be lucky number 13.
So this is your 10th album as Eve Selis?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is called Dark Blue Sky. It came out April 12th.
Oh, it's called Dark Sky Blue. You said Dark Blue Sky, and you know what? You're not the only person who has done that.
Do you know why I'm not the only person who's done that?
Because it grammatically doesn't make any sense.
It's 100% my fault.
Dark Sky Blue.
That's a really weird brain trick.
Yes, it is. And it's the title track of the record. And it is, the tagline is, what will it take to turn your dark sky blue? So that's why it makes sense when you hear the song. But it's also a very provocative title.
Okay, your new album, my apologies, is called Dark Sky Blue. It came out April 12th. I am told that this album is about unconditional love.
Yes.
I disagree.
Okay.
I've listened to the album. I think it might have been called Stages because in this album, it sounds like you're going through all of the stages of grief. This appears to be or seems to come from a more vulnerable place than some of your previous records. Can you tell me why?
Yes. So it started with my husband's brain cancer diagnosis.
Oh my gosh, is he okay?
He is. Thanks for asking. Yeah. Stable, no change. It's all we want to hear. Then 2 months after he was diagnosed, another brother was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And he's still with us and kicking cancer's butt. And then 5 months after that, I lost my brother.
Different brother
to a suicide event. That's what I'm saying. It's hard to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Is it easier to sing about?
Yes and no. I think that's what this record is for. Losing my brother in that horrific way, just kind of unspeakable, horrific way, almost took me out. Like I was in the darkness and I thought, I'm just going to lay down and die. I'll never sing again. I'll never do anything again. It was really, really bad. And when you have that kind of trauma and tragedy that hits you, you can barely even breathe, let alone think. And then you're just like, it's, eat when you're hungry, sleep when you're tired, drink water, as much water as you can, like just basics to just get through. And so as I was starting to crawl out of that darkness, music was what helped heal my heart. And I could barely bear to listen to it, but there were 3 albums that I loved that helped me in my journey. And I remember thinking, when I'm finally able to start writing songs about this experience, I think I'm going to try to write healing songs, like songs that helped me heal. Not like do this and you'll heal, but like this is my, like you said, stages. It's my journey from the dark back to the light. It literally is. And there's 4 stages of healing, and that is awareness, acceptance, reliving or feeling, re-experiencing your grief, and then transformation. And that's how you heal. And so I started writing songs, and I would just slot them into each category. I wasn't trying to like do some sort of a science project. I was just like, what can I do to wake up and get out of bed the next day? And what can I do, and finding my way back to having joy and love and light and back into my life. So it was a long journey. It took me 2 years to start writing. And so in 2018, I started writing again. Actually, I guess it was only a year and a half.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
Track 3 on this album is called The End of the Story. Why isn't that the last song on the record?
Well, that's a great question. Oh, thanks for asking. In the early stage of when you go through, a tragic loss, your mind tries to understand everything, and you try to figure everything out, and you just decide this is what this is and this is what's going to happen. I think it's human nature to try to understand and to be able to put something in a category so that you can move forward. And a dear friend of mine said to me, Eve, you don't know the end of the story. You've already decided how things are going, and you haven't even lived it yet. You don't know that when something tragic happens, something good always comes out of it. And that's hard to suss with until you live through it. And so that song was just kind of like that beginning of like, okay, letting go. This whole record is an exercise. For me, it was an exercise of surrender and letting go what you think you know, and letting go of control. Like you think you have so much control. Steve, let me ask you a question. When have you woken up one day in your life and known exactly what's going to happen? Never. You could have a total day planned, but you don't know. We think we have so much control. And so letting go and understanding that some things you'll never understand. You're never going to have an answer. You're never going to know why. But, my belief system, I'm a Christian. I believe God uses tragedy for good. He learns how to help you grow and evolve and find the goodness in your own life. And that really has happened for me. And on this record, especially, all these songs have really, it's basically my journal. It's just all the stuff you write down in the beginning just to get it out. And then you go back and read it and go, wow. If you're a songwriter, everything is fodder, right? It's like everything, you hear something, you're like, oh, wait a second, I got to write that down. Because you're like, oh, that's great for a song. That's great for a song.
I think that if you're a songwriter, everything is fodder. I think that applies to almost all creative endeavors. Like if you're a comedian, then everything is fodder. If you're a podcaster, you're just like, oh, no, save it for air. So I think that rule applies. My favorite song on this new album, which again is called Dark Sky Blue. My favorite song on the album is called Monster. Now, it appears to be the angriest song on the album. And this is the song that made me think that you could have called the album Stages, because it seems like that is the song where you're processing the anger about what happened. This is going to sound so weird. Can I play that song on this episode?
Absolutely. That song, when you're on stage and you're feeling all its emotion and you have a song that lets you just scream or just like get it all out, it's so healing. Cathartic, it definitely. And when I was thinking about, this is going to be a healing record, it's going to be, I was like, well, this song doesn't fit, but this actually song fits perfectly because you have to feel all you're feeling. It's so trite to say it. Feeling is healing, but it's true. If you lock it inside and you don't process it, it can kill you. It can make you ill. It can hurt you, your heart, your soul, your brain, your body, physically, everything. And when I was trying to understand, like I said, you're trying to figure this out. And this was one of the first songs I started because, the world sees my brother as a monster, but I know my brother. I love him. He's family. He's somebody who I grew up with adoring. And so I was like trying to understand, how can these two things conflate? And that's when I realized, the person isn't the monster. It's the drugs or the alcohol or the addiction or the mental illness. That's the monster.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that, because my next question was going to be, what is the monster? And so thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
Before I play the song, will you introduce it like you're a radio DJ?
Sure. Hey there, it's Eve Selis. You're listening to my brand new song, Monster, off my record, Dark Sky Blue, on Fascination Street Podcast.
Perfect. Thank you for that. We are going to head out here in just a couple of seconds, but I need you to answer one question for me, and that's going to be the question we go out on. So again, as long or short as you like to answer, what does it mean to be the purpose?
Interesting.
No, it's fascinating. See, because it says right there.
Fascinating. That's fascinating. I think we're all here trying to understand or figure out our why. Why am I doing this? Why does anything matter? Why? And as an artist, I discovered through counseling and therapy and life coaching and all of that, that being an artist is a spiritual job. And finding your purpose through recognizing that art comes from something more than you, higher than you. I think it gives us hope and it uplifts us. So being the purpose in the beginning of my career, it was like, look at me, and tell me I'm a good singer, or tell me I'm good at what I do. I need that reinforcement. And then it was like, I just want to write one good song. and then after my life fell apart, it was like, I just want to love people. I want to love them with a song. I just want to hug as many people as I can. And when you go through a public trauma, it opens a door that allows people to come in and share their trauma and their grief and their tragedy. And it's something we just don't talk about. Nobody wants to talk about it. Look at me, I'm not talking about it. I'm trying not to talk about it because it's hard to talk about. And so I think that being this purpose of just recognizing that by sharing my story, I'm giving people permission to share theirs. And a lot of times it's just, I lost my brother to suicide, and we're hugging and we're crying and we just get it. I see you, you see me, I understand. And then it's not as heavy. You don't have to carry it by yourself. So I don't know if I answered your question, but.
You did. That was beautiful and a great words to go out on. Eve, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
I have a Facebook page at Eve Selis, and I also have Eve Selis Music. So I've got 2 pages. I'm on Instagram, on TikTok. I'm even on that tweet or whatever that's called, X or something. And I have a website, eveselis.com, EVESELIS.com.
Again, the new album, which came out April 12th, is called Dark Sky Blue. You guys already got to hear Monster. Go check out the rest of the album. The rest of the album is nothing like Monster. That's kind of the outlier, if you will. Like I said, that's probably the angriest song on the album, which, since that's my favorite, I don't really know what that says about me, but maybe I'll find out at some point what that means about me. Eve, as we're heading out here, is there anything that we didn't talk about or I didn't ask you about that you specifically wanted to talk about today? Like, did I miss something? Did we cover everything?
You did pretty good. Thanks for doing your homework.
Holler.
Yeah, no, I think we did. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to talk about this. And it's early days for me of talking about it. So hopefully I'll get better at it.
You did perfectly. You did great.
Thank you.
I lied. I said that other one was going to be my last question. I have to get you to tell me about playing at Abbey Road Studios. What? Who? What? When? Where? Why?
I did play at Abbey Road Studios, and Sir Tom Jones played before me. So he opened for me.
That guy who just walks around and gets hit with ladies' underpants? That guy?
That guy. And let me tell you, if there was ever like a video definition of it, that guy has it. Like he's so much charm and control.
Guys, you should see her face right now. It is amazing.
And he's a sweetheart, a very nice man. And it was a fundraiser for Cancer UK. I'm dear friends with Bob Harris. He's been on country radio in England for decades, but he also used to have a show called The Old Grey Whistle Test. There's DVDs, videos about it, and he's interviewed everybody. He knows everybody. And they were raising money. They had all this art in Studio One, which was where they would have the full orchestras come in. So there was no chairs, lots of champagne, and all this artwork that they're trying to get people to bid on to raise money for Cancer UK. And then Tom Jones played. I was the after party for the VIPs.
Oh, snap.
So they came into Studio 2. Now, Studio 2 is where the Beatles did all their big albums, where they did their part. They all were singing, like all that stuff that just came out, that, the behind the scenes of the White Album. Was it the White Album?
Sure.
Or Sgt. Pepper, one of those. Anyway, all that stuff, that's Studio 2. So It was so cool to be there. And the piano that Paul McCartney plays is still there. I mean,
No, it's still there.
there.
Did you play
Oh,
it?
yeah.
Did you touch
I
it?
did. I did. I might have laid on top of it. So it was a beautiful thing. And so everybody was so tired from not being able to sit down that they all came in and just sat down. So I just had this wrapped off. I just sang 3 songs, but it was just phenomenal.
How long ago was this? When was this?
I want to say 2010 or 2011, maybe. One of the Bee Gees was there. He actually gave an award to Bob Harris. And of course, I can't remember his name. What are the names of the Bee Gees? Do you know them?
Yeah, it's
Robin.
Andy, Barry. I know Andy wasn't even one of the Bee Gees. He was just a Gibb.
He's their brother, yeah.
Maurice, Barry.
Maurice is the one that just passed, right? Because Barry's the only one left. And Maurice I think he had pancreatic cancer. Anyway, he died shortly after, but he was there. I have a picture with him giving an award to Bob Harris and just had the nicest things to say about him. And just, it was an incredible experience. Like, you can't make something like that happen. And my father had died the year before. And so I brought just like a little bit of his ashes with me in some makeup jar, and I sprinkled them in the garden at Abbey Road Studio. So my dad is there.
Wow. How sweet is that?
And is it Cindy Lennon? What was John Lennon's first wife's name?
Was she there?
She was there. And we were able to tell her that story because Mark, his dad, passed and he brought some of them back because we knew where we were going. We're like, we're doing this. Anyway, we told her the story and she thought that was really cool.
She didn't call the police?
Nobody called the police. And my dad never went to Europe. So I was like, Dad, you're traveling with me.
Oh, that is so sweet. Do you take a piece of him wherever you go? Or was it just for a special trip like that?
It was a special trip like that. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Eve, I feel like I have kept you long enough, but I couldn't let you go without getting more info on Abbey Road. That's amazing.
Oh, Steve, what a pleasure it has been to talk with you. And thank you for shining a light on this record and also just for caring enough to do some backstory on me.
Oh, absolutely. Again, ladies and gentlemen, streetwalkers, if you will, don't forget to check out her new album, Dark Sky Blue. It came out April 12th. Go check out her website, eveselis.com. Maybe you can buy autographed copies of a CD or some weird tangible thing that they still make there. I don't know. But you can definitely check it out on Spotify and all the other places. So go check out eveselis.com and Dark Sky Blue. Don't forget, my favorite song is Monster. Everybody tweet, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, at her. Tell Eve that is also your favorite song.
Well, you know what I didn't tell you about that song? So as a guitar player, I'm a really good singer.
As a guitar player, I'm a really good singer. Is that what you said?
Yeah. So very basic on guitar. And I played that song out. I've only played that song out a few times and just me and an acoustic guitar. But every single time I play that song out, somebody comes up to me and says, I've been in recovery for 13 years or 8 years or whatever it is. And that song tells my story. And I didn't realize that it was going to have that kind of connection or impact. I was just trying to understand what was going on. And that was the first song on the record I started and the last song I finished.
Really?
I think I had to.
You had to complete the cycle.
Yeah. Until I could understand and look back at it and go, oh.
Wow. That's beautiful.
And I told my producer, this needs to feel like it did after my brother died. It needs to feel that dark, horrible, scary. I wanted it to be scary and just terrifying. I think he did a good job.
Who produced this album? Alex Wong?
Alex Wong, a great producer here in Nashville. And I would not have met him had I not moved here. So thanks, honey. Thanks, Tom.
Good job, Alex.
Yeah, I agree.
And I guess Tom. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, because if we hadn't moved, it would have met.
Oh, Eve Selis, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic writing songs and singing them for everybody's schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve. I'm appreciating you and what you do and shining the light on artists and all the things that matter that are fascinating.
All right, Eve. Have a great rest of your day.
Mwah. Take care.
Bye-bye. Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend, subscribe, and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.